Thank you, Joe. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen and committee members. You are very welcome to the virtual Civic Committee meeting being held today, Monday, 7th of December, and it's 5 o'clock in the evening. So we'll kick off with the first item on the agenda, which is 57920, declarations of any disclosable pecuniary interests. To receive any interest not already declared, or if there is anything that comes up during the course of the conversations, please feel free to shout. Is there anything that anybody would like to declare now, please?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No problem. Then we'll move swiftly on to 58020. Apologies for absence. Mr. Crimmen, do we have any apologies for absence, please?
No, I've not received any today. No.
Okay, so two councillors down. Okay, thank you very much for that. We'll press on to 58120 minutes. To resolve the minutes of the committee meeting held on the 8th of October, received by full council on the 27th of October as a true record and signed and initialed by myself. We'll go to that file. And I'll go through them by page. Obviously, this is just for accuracy, please, at this stage. So we have page 1. Page 2 and page 3. Are we all happy with those, please?
Yes, thank you.
Great.
Any objections?
No.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the main event, the Civic Budget 58220, to review and confirm committee budget for 2021. We've had this circulated in advance, as have all the committees. And you can see on the screen before you at the moment the impact of the revisions currently proposed. Alan, I'm going to be kind to you. The mayoral allowance will remain the same. There is a recommendation that we adjust the mayoral events because if in the continued lockdown, very few events will be expected.
It's not on the screen.
Oh, I've got it on my screen, so I'll talk you through it. It's not a problem. So the previous budget that this committee agreed for recommendation through to finance was 4766 for mayoral events, and that has been adjusted down, taking into consideration what may or may not happen, to 2,300. So there's a saving there. On the civic events line, that has remained the same. So that's actually the civic events that this committee is responsible for. Obviously, we need to be mindful that in terms of the mayoral events, that will include things like mayor making and the mayor's reception, which is directly under the mayoral control. We also have got remaining the same civic regalia and gifts aspect. But the town events line, which was initially budgeted at 9,000, as we agreed previously, has been reduced by half, a full 50%, to 4,500, because realistically the events are going to be scaled back, and as has been demonstrated by the events team this current year, we can do things but do differently, and they have a different impact in terms of costing. So we have quite a different, I think we've got the numbers the wrong way round there, Alan, at the bottom on the totals.
No, that's not Alan. That's my fault. But,
sorry, Alan. David.
Yeah, I pulled the stuff across, but failed to do the totals. So if you can reverse those in your heads, please. Sorry about that.
So in real terms, are we looking then, officers, that we are reducing our budget by 4,500 on one line and 466 pounds on another line? Is my maths correct? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So 6. So we're reducing our overall budget by £6,966. Alan, you're far quicker at statistics than I am. So that represents what sort of percentage saving as a whole on the percentage reduction to the civic budget, please?
To the civic budget, my understanding was that it was about a 30%.
So that's a considerable reduction that we're making.
It is. I think the civic budget proportionately has the biggest cut.
Thank you, Alan. So at this point in time, we have the facts. I will open the floor for comment, please, committee. If you'd like to do hands up in the chat, I'll come to you. No, I don't want to put my hand up. What am I doing? I'll go to the chat because that'll be far easier. I apologise. Dennis, I'll come to you first because I know sometimes you have fun getting kicked out when you try and put your hand up. Would you like to comment, please, Dennis?
Well, it's nice to see you can make savings, but reasoning is sensible to me. So I think the revised budget is good. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crawford. Councillor Hollis, I have your hand up, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, I've got company with me this evening. I'd like to congratulate the Civic Committee Chairman, Chair Lady, and the Finance Officer for working this out. 30% cuts in the Civic budget is quite a high amount. It's near enough half, which is a great deal. Yeah, so I'd like to say thank you to you for doing it and doing things that needed to be done. But thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hollis. Councillor Canham, I've got your hand up, please.
Mine basically was on the same lines. We have to think about the people and the impact on them, and the best impact we can do is to cut down what really isn't necessary and find different ways of doing things. So I think yourself and the finance have done really well in this. So yeah, thanks very much. I would approve that.
Thank you. So with the councillors present, Councillor Wright, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I just think it's a necessity that, we're not going to be able to do the things. So obviously we've pared the expenditure down. So well done. And I think you all ought to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. I have to say, from a personal note, it's really disappointing that we have to do this, but we have to be mindful that some of the events that we want to do just realistically are not going to be able to happen in the way that we envisage them this year. And to use the phrase that we have used previously within the Finance Committee and other committees, a lot of this is being deferred. We are learning to do different. We are adapting and overcoming. And I think we can make our contributions, saving 1/3 of our budget and reducing the impact to our residents on any precept increases this year by just doing different. The downside is the town events that we are looking to take on are free of charge to our community. And I think after this year, we really could do with some of these great events. But I think we just need to be mindful and actually perhaps plan for something fantastic the following year. So on that note, I don't believe there's anybody that hasn't now commented that's in the meeting. Do I have a proposer to recommend those budget changes, please?
I will propose, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Canham. Do I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Hollis. Right, I'll go round in order then in that case. Sorry, and I'm just going to read out the names. So Councillor Canham, for or against, please?
For.
Councillor Crawford?
For.
Councillor Hollis?
For.
Councillor Wright?
For.
And myself would be a 4 as well, so that's unanimous. So thank you very, very much, Alan, as Finance Officer, and David as our Civic Officer for the work that you've done on this. And hopefully, the Finance Committee accepts our amendments. So moving swiftly on, we move to 58320, which is the Civic Priorities for 2021-22 to discuss and approve key priorities for the forthcoming year. So our current priority is to investigate how global civic links can be forged, We've got an action point there. David, is there anything you'd like to come in on this point?
Yeah, it's been a difficult year this year, so obviously we haven't been able to further our civic priority as we wished. We are just sort of opening discussions with representatives of the Sikh community to develop our Sikh room in the Guildhall. So I think as far as this agenda item is concerned, we haven't had a chance this year to re-look at our civic corporate priorities. My proposal would be that this is an ongoing, and maybe a second priority would be to, as the committee actually will be changing its name as from April the 1st, 2021 to Heritage and Town Events. So there's going to be a huge focus on the heritage development in terms of this committee next year, especially with the reopening of the Guildhall. So maybe another one is to try and maximise the potential of our heritage, our Thetford heritage, through various different mediums. And one of the action points that we did discuss earlier in the year was to produce a series of heritage videos. So again, we'd like to pick that up in January, and I think Stuart and I are looking at Homes and Cable being one of the first videos that we're going to produce in the new year. So again, it could be a second priority if committee wishes.
Thank you, David. Right, I'll open it up to the committee, please. Any questions, queries or comments?
I'd like to say that that's a good idea. Hopefully by Easter next year, we know where we are. So yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to put that on as an ongoing project. Yeah, the heritage and that. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Hollis. Anybody else, please?
Could I just say something? And I don't know whether it's in the right place. We need
Go for it.
We need to start thinking about. I don't know. I think it's 2022, and that's the Queen's anniversary. What you know, the things take a lot of planning. We need to put that in as one of our priorities.
Thank you, Councillor Canham. I think that links in really nicely to where we were discussing on the last agenda item, in terms that perhaps next year isn't going to be, I want to say, a whiz popper. I've been reading too much Dahl clearly lately. Big Friendly Giant. It isn't going to be the events that we were hoping to. So perhaps that is something strategically that this committee could look at next year in readiness for the following year. I do think that could possibly be something quite strategic that we can support, and I think we'll all be ready for a darn good street party by that time. Any other comments, please? Councillor Crawford, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that covers everything for me. I'm not in the best of thoughts at the moment, so
no, I appreciate that, and I'm sorry for putting you on the spot there.
Oh no, that's all right. Thank you.
I just want to make sure that you had the opportunity to speak.
Cheers. Thank you, Chair.
No worries. Councillor Wright.
Yeah, I just think things will flow. Obviously, the Guildhall project is the priority for this year's stroke. It may move into next year, given we're going to have to deliver some of the things for the funding of the Guildhall. I think David will probably pick that up through them up until Easter, but I think that links nicely to events. If we can do some things on the marketplace once the Guildhall's up and running, and to fill some of the gaps. I think you're right that put the civic links development as one of our second priorities, because I think we've got a bit of mileage with the Sikhs already with that coming up. We know that there was the remembrance thing with the Sikhs earlier, and obviously couldn't all attend that, but obviously post Easter, I think hopefully we can get things up and running in a lot more open access to everybody. The flagging up side, if we are shelving that or looking at a scaled down event on that. I noticed that Breckland have put up some banners now on lampposts in the town. I don't know whether there's any mileage of doing a rework of those, or if you know how long they're going to be up for. There's not many of them, and it wouldn't be what scale we wanted to do, but I think that could be brought into when we do the flagging up event. But yes, let's just get this thing put to bed, and we can open up the business post Easter, I think.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. I noticed the town clerk has put up in the chat that David and herself have had a chat with the Breckland Council staff about them, and I know when it's been mentioned at Breckland District Council meetings that the view is that these, banner stalks, for want of a better phrase, can be utilised by ourselves. So yeah, I fully agree, Stuart. It's a fantastic, exciting opportunity, and they're keen for us to sort of run with that idea as well and develop it further. And they were quite in favour of the flagging up Thetford because it echoes and enhances the confidence campaign that's happened, and also now the Explore, Discover and Enjoy campaign as we had the run into Christmas. And I think that's really important that we celebrate all elements. As everybody's had a chance to speak, David, I'm mindful that you said about perhaps adding a priority. Could I make a suggestion that we actually reword our current priority in light of the conversation? And that would be to say, to investigate how global civic and heritage links can be forged and developed. Do you think that covers everything?
That sounds excellent. That sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
In one nice line of the 2 or 3 separate priorities.
Yeah, and I just thought then that way that sort of gives the headline, that is the focus, and then the workflow can fall down out of that because it covers all bases. I will recommend that as an amendment to our current priority. Would anybody like to second that, please?
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hollis. So, Councillor Canham, in favour or against, please?
In favour.
Councillor Crawford?
For, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Hollis?
I'm for that.
Councillor Wright?
For.
And I proposed it, so it'd be a bit daft if I didn't agree with it. So that's wonderful. That's unanimous. Thank you all very much for that. And thank you, David, for your work on this. I appreciate. We feel like so many things, the world has been on pause for so much recently. So we'll move on to 58420, which is the civic events for this current year. To receive an update. So I'll hand over to you, David, because I feel like I've talked enough at the moment.
Okay, so really the only event that we did deliver within the last, since the last civic meeting, was the Remembrance Sunday event, which was obviously curtailed by COVID-19, as most things have been this year. But as Town Council, we did host a small gathering. I think there was 30 people of invited guests that came along to a remembrance event in King's Town. And the representatives of those invited guests laid wreaths at a temporary memorial, as you can see in the photo. The event was live streamed to the wider general public, and currently I think we have over 2,500 views of that posted video. So lots of people have engaged with that. So that's another success of some of the live streamed events that we've done in recent months. As I said, that's the only one to report on as a past event. Just to pick up a point on upcoming events that Stuart mentioned earlier, as you can see, the one that is missing on upcoming events is flagging up. Yes, we've made a major cut in our budget for town events, but I think, we just have to be a little bit more cleverer with the way that we look to deliver events. And we did say from the outset that flagging up was going to be our inaugural year next year. It's not to say that we can't do it. We probably have to be sensible and not think about the parade and things like that, which can be costly, but we can certainly still encourage all the towns to get involved in displaying a flag or dressing up their shop windows and things. So I think we can still do it, and certainly kick off the town event season in the way that we envisaged, just by curtailing it slightly. In terms of River Day, River Day is on the 24th of July 2021. We are looking to this year work with our partners, especially BFER partners, to try and make River Day still feasible. So again, if the situation and circumstances allow, that will still go on Saturday the 24th of July. I'd like to think that we're going to see the back end of whatever this is by September 2021, and heritage weekends will still continue, especially as we'll have reopened the Guildhall by then, and we are looking to try and commission a Homes and Cable play performed on the Market Square, and I still think that we can do that even within the budget that we've now got for 2021-22. Christmas lights will definitely happen. We will again be a little bit more cuter in terms of trying to get people involved. We have good partners in terms of delivery. Larry Gray has always supported the event in past years, and I see a Facebook post today that he's hoping to come back next year to support that event. So I can see most of what we want to do happen, maybe slightly curtailed in how we would have liked to have done it. But again, you know, it will be a good town events programme for next year, I'm sure.
Thank you, David. And I'd just like to say welcome to Councillor Barretto. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it's challenging at the moment, but I'm glad you're able to use the power of technology. So thank you ever so much. Are there any questions of David, please?
There is something I'd like to say there, if that's okay.
Of course.
I just think that Tom's done a wonderful job on the switch on of the light, with that little carol singing in the background and showing you the town. You know, I thought that was lovely.
Thank you, Councillor Cannon. And I think that is a fantastic example of what David has just said, of how we have to rethink how we do things and just adapt our delivery methods. And I have to say, from a personal point of view, I was honoured to be able to attend the Remembrance Sunday event, and it was incredibly well organised. Our events team were brilliant, and as usual, our parade marshal John Wayne did a fantastic job, and made it extremely clear to everybody during his briefing how everything was going to happen. So really appreciate all the work that the Royal British Legion and the events team did pulling this together, so thank you. Any other questions, please?
Just to come in there, please, Chair. Just to say that Joe was the main driving force behind the Christmas light switch on film. We have two great guys in my team, both Joe and Tom. Tom is currently getting immersed in the Talking Up Thetford videos. So yeah, they're both working hard to try and develop those kind of things. But credit goes to Joe on that one.
Thank you, Joe.
Yes, thank you, Joe.
So any more questions or queries on that, or are we good to move on to the next item? It's on the screen. It's going to happen now. So we move on to 58520, which is the Guildhall Heritage Hub, to receive an update of progress and agree any next stage future actions. David, I'm going to hand over to you again, I'm afraid.
Okay, so the reason we put this on the agenda is simply in tandem with the actual committee changing its name to Heritage and Town Events. I think the committee next year will play a major part in developing the Guildhall Heritage Hub. Yes, it is one of our portfolio of events. The day-to-day operational running is going to be controlled by venues and marketing. But in terms of trying to progress the heritage factor of the venue, it will fall to this committee. So just to give you a little update, Stuart and I had a recent walk round of the up-to-date improvements. There's a few tweaks to be made in the internal refurbishments, but we're not far there in terms of what the contractors were contracted to do. it's now down to us and us as a committee to get involved in developing the themed displays. So, I mean, I can hand over to Stuart if Stuart wants to just take us through those 4 spaces, but I'm quite happy to do it if he.
Exactly what I was thinking, David. Over to you, Stuart.
Yes, well, David obviously and Ros had worked up ideas, and I think they shared those with this committee anyway. So a lot of this is not really too new. But if we go through each room, the large court, we've talked about the opportunities there to try and get the sound sorted out. And I think David's identified the panels, which I think he shared illustrations of. When we walked around, we felt that it lent itself to large panels, no words. So we're proposing, I think, 6 panels of pictures and then 2 blank panels either side of the Statue of Justice, which would blend in with the background wall, probably framed in white, so that it just, you wouldn't know it wasn't part of the decoration anyway. But they would offer quite a bit of opportunity on that wall without detracting from the Statue of Justice. So we looked those up, and I've got some pictures to share with you, Dave, some old illustrations. What I tried to get through was illustrations you wouldn't normally see about the town. So there's the oldest reference to Thetford Castle, I think about 869, where the Vikings are coming in. These are available to, we can get the copyright for tens of pounds to use them, which is great. And I'll be sending that on to David to work those up. The Guildhall Council Chamber, we know we've earmarked that for the civic side of the Sikh story. I've been in contact with Oliver, and he was just bringing me up to speed where he was with that. And I think David was copied in on that email whereby they're looking to get the Sikhs to come down and talk through what they would like to see in there. We did talk about some temporary displays to put around on the windowsills, which when we've got Heritage open, they just gives that little bit extra display space, and then we can hide those away when the room is in use for other reasons. But the cabinet has been put up, and we know we want to probably put the screen in the middle of the cabinet there and see what the Sikhs have got to fill it. And there's another little area, but as you come in the door, which will be quite narrow, but we can put some quite secure items in there, and the possibility of using an iPad there, which would give opportunities to touch, which I know once we get post-COVID we'll be allowed to do, but at the moment it would be not the little thing to do. But it lends itself there to possibly doing something which you can then impart a lot of information if people want to find out about it without necessarily taking up too much space. And then in the Guildhall Tea Room, there's about 3 or 4 areas there where we can do some quite large words, large text, but not detracting away from the room itself. The chair, the throne, the judge's chair, and the holders for the sword and mace just want to be left so that you can enjoy the ambience there. But on the other walls, there's 2 or 3 walls between the windows where we can impart a bit about the Williamson Holmes and Cable story, and possibly a bit about the assizes and Thomas Paine there. And then the entrance foyer, which we've got the little alcove with blocked up doorway. I've done the wording for Dr. Min's story, which I've shared with David and Jane. We've got some images there, which I think will work quite nicely, and we can put those in place. And then we've asked if we could use some of the David Osborne collection postcards in relation to the marketplace area, because there's a number of there, and Oliver's come back and said, yes, it'd be a good idea. So probably forming a collage or a timeline or something like that until we see what we've got. We know we can work with it. But this is the big wall where the kitchen area goes into the toilets in the hallway. There's quite a large wall. It'd be nice to just give us that link to the marketplace, because it's all part of the story of the Guildhall, really. And then because of the David Osborne link, it would be nice to have a list of the freemen of Thetford on there, which would obviously mention both David and Honington, and that would be nice to put that in the hallway, so that links nicely with that. And then there's a crest on the wall by the Carnegie Bridge, and what we felt would be useful there is a civic timeline of Thetford, so that we understand a little bit about us evolving from this fortification on the crossing point of the rivers to Viking Burr, the old borough, a fortified town, coming through to the Saxon Norman times, and then really evolving to this borough in its own right, through to getting our charter in Elizabeth I's time, and then coming through to the reorganisation of local government towards the end of the 19th century, where we fully went into Norfolk. Previously we were in both Norfolk and Suffolk, and then just taking us through up to date with the abolition of Thetford as a borough, becoming part of the larger Brecon Council. But I think that'd be quite nice there, given that the crest is there, and that links quite nicely, because I don't think we really share the story of the civic side of the town anywhere else. But that's what we've got planned. Obviously, any questions, happy to take them, and any ideas, always willing to learn. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Stuart. Brenda, I've got your hand up, please.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's any old pictures of when it was the courthouse and the judges, because obviously, when
I've not seen any with judges inside. I don't think they tended to record inside courtrooms, but there may have been some when the judges' work came into the building. But I'm not aware of seeing anything in the collection that I can recollect.
Well,
Thank you. And note that there's an update from the town clerk that David and herself have a meeting about the paintings in January, picking up on the council chamber item. And she also has a mayoral timeline that David Osborne wrote for us. So it might be interesting to see if that could be incorporated.
Yeah, great.
We can utilise that. Perhaps I'll just stash it away and bring it out another time. The judges were celebrities of the day, so there may be some pictures we can research. I think they're more infamous than what I've been reading, to be perfectly honest, than celebrities. But yes, thank you. Any further questions of Stuart or David, please?
no, I can't wait. Bring on 2022.
So realistically, do we need any next stage future actions apart from a certain chairperson writing her piece on Princess Sophia?
I think if we can aim to give you a little synopsis, of some of the images in that at the next meeting, that would be probably useful. Keep everybody up to speed.
I think that visualization would be perfect, especially given where we are at the moment, and obviously meeting up and that kind of thing is still very, very challenging. I think that would be wonderful if that's okay with both yourself and David.
Yeah, that's fine. And just to say, Stuart, if we could get those images across for the large court acoustic panels, that would be great, because VEM has already approved the spend for those. So I'd like to sort of get that underway before they change their mind. But yeah.
If it's in this year, absolutely. Councillor Canham, I've got your hand.
It is in this year. Don't worry, Chair of Finance.
Could I just ask? At one point, we was looking at a mosaic from the Sikh Foundation, whether it be outside or inside. Is that still on the cards, or has that been crossed off?
The external works have commenced, and they're going pretty well. We've had the structural architect in, and he's not found anything too nasty. So works are still on schedule. Funny enough, we have asked them to pursue the external works without the mural being part of the current plan, simply because there are budget restrictions. But we will have those conversations with the Sikh community going forward. One of the meetings had to be postponed because of the situation, but it's on the agenda, and it's something that can be introduced at a later stage.
That's fine, thank you.
So there's plans, but yeah.
Super, thank you very much, and thank you both for all your hard work on this. It's wonderful to see the Guildhall being rightfully put back into the heart of Thetford that it was for centuries. So thank you both very much. We'll move on in that case to 58620, the committee officers update. Anything else for us, David?
Nothing, I'm afraid. No, thank you.
Don't be afraid, you're very welcome. And then 58720, community engagement, to discuss and agree any consultation or media release required. Anything that you'd like to see put out there at the moment, please, committee? Whilst you pause for thought, I'm thinking that perhaps once we do get sort of more of a visualization, that might be a really good opportunity to share that with the public, how that's being developed in terms of the Guildhall. What do you think, Stuart and David?
Yeah, I think once we've got some reasonable images, useful, but it's a bit early stage at the moment.
That's
one of the things that we did discuss at the last meeting, but it was go out on the 4th of January, is the next year's Honoured Civic Citizens Awards, So that's scheduled to be released to the press and social media on the 4th of January, ready for their nominations for 2021. So that will be going out in the forthcoming weeks.
Excellent, some positive stuff going out, because I have to say that the positivity that has been, surrounding our fantastic volunteers in Thetford, I think we're going to be inundated this year in terms of the honoured citizen and the junior honoured citizen. So yeah, I think we're going to be busy, team. So if there's nothing else to add on the community engagement front,